risk everything?
100%. At the point of, you're on about the point of children.
The word anything is anything. Are you prepared to risk your relationship with your brother in order
no.
to succeed?
No.
Are you prepared to risk your relationship with your brother in order to succeed?
No.
So go back to the question I originally asked. Are you prepared to risk everything?
Yeah, no. Not my relation. And that goes back again, like I'd said, with school. The relationships with people and friends and things that I've built up over my life, they're some of the things that they are the things I hold most dear. You know, whether it's, mum or dad, brother, friends. If you're kind of in Meet the Parents, you're in the circle of trust.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that. And when you're in my circle of trust, you are the most important people to me.
Well.
And so I wouldn't sacrifice those relationships for anything.
So have a second to think before you answer this one. Every one of your team at work, are you prepared to risk everything for those people?
Well, I think there's levels to it, I suppose, and anyone who watches is going to be on the same kind of level as to what I'm about to say. Is that you've got, your immediate family and friends, which are the most important people in the world. But then there's obviously rungs to that ladder where you've got then your team and people and then your business, and there's each rung of the ladder where they're extremely important and you'd want to do everything for them. You'd wouldn't quite put your life on the line, but you'd work nights, days, every hour of every day to try and make sure that they can prepare, they can do what they need to do for their families.
Mm-hmm.
But, in terms of a priority order, I think everyone's got that kind of priority order in the most important people.
Saying.
But I'd definitely, in terms of time, dedication and anything like that, I'd sacrifice all of that for the people that work for us.
I think the way
Do they know that?
They will now.
I think they definitely see the amount of work that we put in, emails late at night, the building of relationships where we come in and birthdays and things like that. We try and do as much as we can for the team, but we can do a lot more. There's always room to improve. But it's a difficult question.
The way I see it is almost like the company being like a car or a bus, and those that want to be on the bus, anybody on that bus, family, friends, work colleagues, people that work in the team. And I don't call them employees. I don't like that word.
It's got bad stigma around it.
It just sounds awful.
Yeah.
It just goes back to this crazy notion of like I'm an employer and you're my employee, and it's like I'm no one special. But I personally, and I say this to everyone that ever joins the business, we've just got a guy coming to start in the warehouse. And it rings true for our now business manager who started as a warehouse manager. No job role is off limits within this business. Mm-hmm. I am no one special. If you can come in and do my job better than me, you can have my job, and all the stress and all the headache and anxiety that goes with it. You can also have the benefits that come with it, but you need to do a better job than I do. And good luck to you. And there are people out there that would do a much better job than me at what I do. And I've got that mindset where I know that I don't know what I don't know. And there's a path for me to continue learning, leveraging other people's information. So I'm on a bus and I'm driving the bus, and I love and care for everybody on that bus that's within it. But if you're there pissing around on the bus, on my bus, and creating issues and creating problems, and you're slashing my tyres and you're messing about, I'm like, that bus is stopping and you're getting off.
Yeah.
And so I risk anything and everything for the people on that bus. At the same time, I have a slightly smaller tolerance for who gets to stay on and who gets to go off, because it's my bus and I'm the one driving. Now, I'm also probably, again, we use circle of trust is a good one. So that's the same thing. I'm probably in other circles as well. So you sort of behave differently, where I can equally be a part of somebody else's bus and have them drive and, follow and be respectful. I said again, but it comes back to that, for me personally anyway, that initial mindset of, I need to respect you. But if I'm going to give you the control of this bus and let you have the steering wheel, I need to be confident in your ability to drive this vehicle forward.
Yeah.
Or in the direction that I can at least see as being a visible and worthwhile direction for us to travel in, because otherwise, again, I'll stop and I'll pull the brake and I'll get off myself. So certainly, yeah, the team see that. I think we can all do more for our teams as a business and as business owners, because we get so wrapped up into pushing the business forward and what's next and how do we get there, and this is the vision and this is the mission, and we all want to try and push it, and nobody cares as much about your business or my business, our business, as us.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the way it should be.
Yeah, it shouldn't be frowned upon, or we shouldn't need to be hiding the truth in that, look, I've got a family over here, and that ultimately takes priority. And hey, team, you guys have family, and I expect you put them first, of course. However, what allows us to spend time with our family is this vehicle, this bus that we're talking about. So I have this kind of phrase, is like what I've took from like what your dad instills into you, in terms of, I will give you my 100% everything. I just expect the same in return. And when you look at it like that, you'll feel that, well, you'll not have disappointment. You'll have frustrations on the way, of course, because you like your ups, your downs. But if, rather than a bus, go to a boat, if everyone's rowing in the same direction, it's amazing. But yet to smoothen it out, get the strokes the same. And now it's like you're racing. It's like the Oxford versus Cambridge rowing boat race, right? Yeah. You've all got to row in harmony, in synchronisation. You've got to float across that water. But if everyone were going rapid, like, the boat would be chopping all over the shop. And that is what a lot of businesses are like. But yeah, it's interesting to hear, would you be prepared to risk it all? Internally of a business, family to one side, internally of a business, I think it's fair to say that we share the same kind of values in that, absolutely, everything's on the line every day. Absolutely every day. But we act with the best intentions of the business to protect everybody. So it's an easy decision. If a contract comes to the table and it's not beneficial to the company, well, it gets batted out the door in order to protect our team. For me, it's an easy one. But those sort of like understandings, those decision making, was right back at the very start, where we had the leather belt out from the dad and we were feared. You was installed from a very early age. Sorry.
Do you think discipline is important to instill into a team? And
Absolutely.
How would you do that? Or certainly in a team environment nowadays where we're a lot softer than we used to be. And again, I get stories. And my dad, again, similar to yours, was an engineer, and he worked in factories, and it was industrial, and it was, being honest, I don't want to say like manly men, but we can all sort of picture what it would be like in the sort of 50s up to the sort of 80s, early 90s, where you've got factory environment, industrial revolution, and you've got a bunch of blokes around machines. And if somebody's pissing around, it's punch ups, it's hands around throats, it's thrown out the front door. It's not disciplinaries and first warning and written warning, and we'll all have a sit down and have a chat. It's get the fuck out of my company and don't come back, because otherwise it's going to be trouble.
And so, look at that though, you've got to look at, like, it's either life or death certain scenarios, isn't it? So imagine in the military, where the consequence is great, you're dead. If you don't do as you're told, you could die.
Very true.
You're going to do as you're told. You're going to do as you're told. It's that simple. Because if you don't, you could die. So take that into a business, arena, where you've got, spinner mollers going off, or you've got pressers, and it's very, very dangerous stuff. The last thing that you want is an idiot coming in there getting hurt, because then you've got to be the guy that goes to tell his mum and dad.
True.
So the last thing you want is an idiot. I have seen spinner mollers take fingers off. One of the lads, he took like across 4 hands there, just whipped clean off, just being stupid. They are battle scars. You get I was talking about Azam about this in terms of like, we believe that you become more experienced by the battle scars than you do age. Age, if you sit in a room all day and it's got butterflies and, you know, everything's all great, you're not becoming experienced through age. But you go out to war, you go out to battle every day, go into a business every day, wear every hat. You get hit left, right, fall out of a tree, you hit every branch. You get experience through your war wounds by doing it. So I think by being disciplined from a very early age, you're kind of pre-warned about these consequences. And it kind of makes you a little bit more alert to them and a little bit more resilient as well. And when you start coming into a business perspective, that's why I wanted to keep today more about used to than the actual business. Because the business will do it. It's a great business. It'll thrive because you've got great teams. But it's the individuals that are leading and inspiring it. So you asked the question about the team. I'm fortunate enough to, and I ended up being in the situation where it was either take control or not. I spoke about this on a LinkedIn post with the football lads. And they were being poorly mistreated. It was terrible. And it was like, you know what, it's in our nature. Grab the reins and let's go. And we did. And we didn't have a captain. And we had to make a choice because you have to have a captain in a team. So as the managers, you've got all the parents, and the parents are the worst. They're all opinionated. Do this, do that, run there. Oh, what are you doing? They are the worst. Okay? So now you're an educated businessman, or not educated, but you're a businessman. What you're looking at, but you're in that role, and now you've got your team in front of you, your staff, your footballers, your headless chicken, and you've got to go and put a performance on because that's what's expected. It's no different in a business scenario. So we built 3 pillars, just like we do in business. Right, guys? I know you can all kick a ball. That's why you're here. 3 things: 100% effort, communication, and pass. That was it. And we won the league on those 3 pillars. How we won the league is we didn't have a captain. You need a voice on the pitch. So we selected somebody who would be our voice on that pitch. So it's like us as business owners. We select a foreman or a manager, general manager. It's the carbon copy of us, but internally the business.
How did you decide?
Great question. So how we decided was because he had the passion. He shared the same values. He got it. He understood it. He just needed to learn his ability. So we needed to push him, test him, break him, where he can reflect. And I remember there was one key moment where he came to me upset because the team weren't listening to him. We told him to go and do a job. Go and tell your team to do this. Bear in mind, they are, for context, 11, 12-year-old. And he's the youngest. So he's the youngest of the team. And we told him to go and tell his peers, tell your teammates to do this. They came off at half time and you could see him welling up. They're not listening to me. Why they're not listening? And all that half, he was yelling instruction. Do this, do that, do this, do that. To get him to realise, be a boss or a leader, which one you want to be, I couldn't tell him he's been a boss. I had to ask him, which one are you being? Are you leading your team or are you bossing them around? No one likes a boss. And everybody loves to be led. So lead and inspire, i.e. you be the big loud voice, scream want the ball more than anybody else, and distribute it using the same 3 pillars. So put the effort in, be the loudest person on the pitch, run everywhere, don't stop running, but keep communicating to everybody, pass with instruction. Those 3 pillars, everybody came off the second half going, wow, Lucas, you were insane. The biggest difference was he learnt the boss people about, no one likes you. You become the version what you need them to be, and they follow you. And to see that in children, that's super powerful.
Our dad always said that in life, his dad told him that there are sheep and there are shepherd. So my question is, do you recognise that even at such a young age, 10, 11, 12, that there are people that are natural born leaders? Or do you believe that the leadership trait is something that you have to learn through, again, either life experience, as you said, so you're either, it's the things that happen to you, not just the numbers on the clock, or is there just a natural tendency for people, or is it a mixture of all of it?
Well, think about it. Let's go back to your two. So you've got one who's sitting in the perceived position that's the leader, but yet you've got the other who's actually leading in a completely different way. You know, the reality is putting a cat amongst the pigeons sometimes is necessary to cause the situation in order for people to become alert. So to create a scenario like what your dad created, maybe it was intentional. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yes.
You've got to ruffle the feathers in order to get the result, because you're not looking. So if we had a conversation, we're like, hey, do that. You get accustomed to saying, yes, sir, 3 bags full, sir. Yes, sir, 3 bags full, sir. Well, now you've created a very weak position, because without your voice, that don't get done. So you need to be able to lead and inspire in certain ways. But yet a boss walks in and is hated, but yet he's created a community that united, a community that will actually do the do. Because they want to, you know, let's say you put a foreman on the shop floor and they start to, you know, side with some people but hate other people. At first you'll get a rift. And it'll be like, oh, well, he said, she said, all that malarkey is going to happen. But eventually they'll smarten up and go, hang on a minute, it's him, he's the problem. And they start to unite. Used to when you were fighting, right? Same as brothers. You fight, and you're angry, and you're red in the face, and your enemies, the moment you hear that leather belt go, or your mum's like going, Tyler, go, and you're like, your best mates. Your best mates. Your instant best mates. You've formed that allegiance. It's quite a different sort of like scenario at that point. That's where you pick each other up, dust it off, we don't fight, we're fighting.
Yeah, and it's like what I'd said, you know, we're very much, there's the competition there, but we always want the absolute best. And the only reason the competition exists is really, like you say, that bar. It's kind of, we're starting here, then it's here, then it's here.
Yeah.
One gets a little bit better than the other one gets a little bit better, then you constantly then building each other up in an upward spiral of improvement. And I think you want that for your team as well when it's within your business. And going back to that toolbox, learning as much as you can to have as many tools in that toolbox is the best thing you can do for your team.
Well, when you look at a team, does everyone love the kiss arse?
Nobody.
Nobody loves the kiss arse. Nobody loves the guy who's brown nosing. It's a one-way ticket to maybe individual success for so long.
Yeah.
What you're better off doing is creating a community that they all elevate together. You know, it's the superstars are great, aren't they? But like Cristiano Ronaldo, why does he get so frustrated if he don't get the ball at his feet?
He's doing everyone else.
Not everyone's at his level.
Yeah.
And the reality is, could you win a football, like if Cristiano Ronaldo went into a Sunday League side, would he guarantee win for his team? No. You've got a good, strong chance. Don't
You
get
got a
me
good
wrong.
chance.
But like, you're not guaranteed to win. Because the opposition know all they're going to do is going to get it on Ronaldo. So flood him. They're knackered. Get him out of the game. Break his legs. Do what you need to do. Do you know what I mean? So going back to the shepherd kind of scenario, it's like, well, nah, don't go for your superstars. You don't need superstars. I revert everybody back to Man United's class of 92. They won everything. Some might argue with us, don't be United fans, but they were not the world's best players. They were not. They were individually exceptional. But that class of 92, they came together, led by Sir Alex, and they were exceptional. But they were exceptional together. They were a jigsaw piece. They came together. I think I heard Paul Scholes say this one thing once. I don't think, and again, don't quote me on this, but I don't think he had the best relationship with Ruud van Nistelrooy. But Gary Neville once said to him, like, why were you so, like, who was the best person that you could click with like that? And he went, you didn't really have the best of relationships with Ruud van Nistelrooy. But like, he says, listen, let me tell you this. I don't need to like the guy that I'm going to pass the ball to that I know is going to score. But if I give him the ball on the 18-yard box, 9 times out of 10 it's good in. If I give him the ball on the wing, wasted. So I know my job is to receive the ball and it's going there without looking. It's in my feet, it's there. It's in my feet, it's there. It's repetitive. In my feet, it's there. Because where's there? Ruud van Nistelrooy. He's there. And 9 times out of 10, he's going to put it in the back of the net. And that was his job. He knew that. But he weren't a superstar. He was very, very talented. Arguably one of the better central midfielders to come out of England. But yet he wasn't a Ronaldo or a Messi. He wasn't a Pele, a Maradona. He's not, his name has never been at the world's best. If we all said, right, who's the world's best footballer?
It's always strikers, isn't it? It's always the people scoring the goals.
Weirdly, today it's about defence. It's blown my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's traditionally it has been your strikers and whatnot.
Your star players.
Your key star players. But the reality is, look at what Man United did.
As a team.
As a team, as a squad. And that is what Sir Alex did. Sir Alex played his part, but he recruited from his youth, brought them in. He would create scenarios, but at the moment you were bigger than the club, you were gone.
It's the culture as well. And because he's done it from the foundations, again, like what we were saying, from the family roots at a young age, he's picked the ones and said, like, you get it. You're coming up. You've got because you can. There's obviously natural talent to things, but you can teach the talent, but you can't teach how you're going to be with the rest of your team and how you're going to integrate and the culture.
Yeah,
that's the most important thing.
So, I read David Beckham's statement not long back. His first day at the club, he was introduced to a lady that would look after him as a young lad, and she said to David Beckham's mum, what I can't remember, said, "Don't worry, I'll look after him. I'll be his, work mum if you want." And she did, and David was accustomed to that relationship, and that grew, and that's a team, and it's like Lewis Hamilton and what he had, or now she's back in shit Ferrari. But the point I'm getting is, I think it was last year, the year before, David Beckham's work mum, she died. He's been left Man United for years, but she was still there. And that cut him deep. He will never forget what she did for him. And this comes back down to the bigger picture. She was never a superstar. She was never mentioned anywhere. We'd never even know about that woman. But yet she played a very, very large role in his life that enabled him to be the superstar on the pitch.
I think then the best role of a leader isn't to be the superstar. It's about unlocking the special talent within each individual, within the team, and creating that mindset that instead of one person producing 150%, if everybody in the team can produce 10% more collectively, even just 10%,
compounding,
it compounds across a larger scale.
Yeah.
And rather than one person then feeling burnout and feeling resentment and feeling like they're the one leading the charge on their own.
The red mist
descends. And then from that point on, they've got two choices. They either work harder, which results in more stress and more pain and generally a lower quality of work at that point, or come into the understanding that as a leader, it's your job to bring out the best of your team and you'll get a much better result, like you've seen with the Man U of 92. Instead of being the one where you want to wear, and you'll get the accolades, but that's why I think the selfish leader is never the one that is ever going to achieve success in life, because they are genuinely doing it for their giving rather than taking, and they've got to have a mission that's bigger than themselves. And I think we've seen that with every great entrepreneur, every great superstar, every great football star, sports star. They have a vision that's bigger than themselves. And I think it's important for everybody that is in a business that hasn't got that or hasn't got the mindset that they really need to go and find out what it is, because that is going to be so much more powerful in driving the business forward, or driving the team forward in whatever aspect that might be, or driving the family forward, or driving the friendship group forward, where you can all agree on a common goal and use that as the motivation to drive forward rather than taking it all on your shoulders. And I've been guilty of that. Certainly as a leader, you sort of, like I said when earlier on when we were talking about stepping out of father's shadow and proving yourself and pushing him to one side, well, and then showing the team that actually I'm the one sort of doing this now. I'm taking all the workload on. I'm putting all the weight on my shoulders. And again, going back to self-reflection, now I think the sort of penny has dropped. The reality is it's best now to look at the team as a wider landscape rather than piling it all on one person's shoulders.
Quick question. Has your dad got a picture in the main entrance when you walk in? Has he got a picture where everybody knows he was the founder?
No.
It's like North Korea. No, it's a good idea. We've got one, like I say, it's featured. The one thing that we've done as a business that we think or thought was really important, not just for the actual business itself, but for our future of the company. The beautiful thing about our business is named Cola. Cody, Tyler, Cola. It's really nice. It's a great touch from our dad. And again, it echoes the point that the reality, and we weren't working in the business at this point, so this is decades ago. And it echoes the point of everything that he hasn't had to say, but that we believe to be true through his actions and from what we've seen, is that actually we know it to be true. This, the lessons that he's taught, the discipline, it wasn't done for nothing. There was actually meaning behind it. And that is the true reasoning behind what he's done.
Who knows that?
Well, we do more than anybody. But I think also the team as well.
It's quite inspiring.
It's massively.
But is it shown anywhere?
And this is where we get into, and we will never change the name of the business. And because it means so much to us, as I said, our name means so much to us. But one thing that we did have to do was change some of the branding, the logo, and the slogan. The slogan of the business was, it was the company of excellence, and the logo said CSS, and no one called us CSS, and no one referred to us as CSS. And if you saw CSS if you Google CSS, we don't come up. If you see the CSS company of excellence, you'd go, "Who are you? What do you do?" And know nothing about you.
I love how he's justifying this still right now.
It's because he'll watch it and he knows that it's all going to just end.
But
it's going to cause a riot.
I told you that.
It needs to be changed. But we've changed it. But the one thing that I said is to keep some of the legacy alive. I think it would be nice to have that sort of staged this is our... And we did a video, didn't we, where we found some really cool recordings of our dad's factory that he built back in the 80s. And again, it's this old sort of really retro footage on a camcorder as he's going round, and it was a real fixer-upper, and he invested all his time, weekends, like all hours of the day, himself, as you can imagine back then, certainly on a limited budget where you built something from nothing.
Yeah.
And that's where the inspiration comes from. And again, doing this podcast, one of the big reasons for it, not only to help others and to shed some light on the mindset surrounding business owners, and, that we're not all a bunch of villains who are trying to profit off of the hard work of those unfortunate that are, working for us. And again, like I said, even at the start, we don't see it as that. But the inspiration comes from what he's done to build the business up. I think now we want to create and make sure that we don't forget who we are or where we've come from, that even pushing the business forward to the heights that we want to take it to the stars and beyond, that we don't forget that we are still this small family business that was founded in the Black Country with, a shed with one man's dream of building something that he could then leverage his passion for engineering and for making things and then use it to sustain a life for his family, the team that he brings in and brings into the boat. And like you said, along the way, there's been people that have been made to walk the plank.
Standard naming business that hasn't.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think for us to continue that legacy is something that, again, and it's great having these conversations because it really does drill down on some of the things that as business owners, you get stuck in the day-to-day of running things and the operations and the big tasks that you think are driving the thing forward, but then you forget that some of the emotional sides of the business are as equally important and, again, can rally the team 3x, 4x, 5x than just setting a new goal or target, whereas actually you do a reflection about where we've come from and who we are and what we stand for, and that can rally the team a lot more than just saying, here's the target and are we all happy with the target and can we all get there by the end of the quarter? Because really, you know, how much emotion are you inciting through writing a number on a board and saying, there's your goal?
The reality is, your team are going to leave in a heartbeat if they have to. If something happens, they leave in a heartbeat. It's harder to leave a culture that is embedded into its own sort of like mission, if that makes sense.
If you feel a part of it and it's become a part of you and that you love the people that you work with and you feel that they're like a family, when things get tough, you wouldn't cut and run.
No.
You'd stay and you think, I've got to grind and get through this. And we've found people like that. And, well, a lot of the people that work for us have that culture to them within the business.
Yeah.
It's just, it's difficult to get there sometimes with some of the people that have been there a while, but we're getting there now. And we've really got a great team that work for us, all with us.
So, a couple of final questions. One, a bit more serious. Are we grateful for how we were treated as children?
Massively. If that didn't happen, and it's like you were saying with taking the punches and you learn from the things that really get your gut wrenching and you think, oh my God. And those are the things that if you never had to deal with any pain and you never had to deal with any stress, you never had to deal with anything like that, you'd just be living in Disneyland. It'd just be the perfect world, and any little thing that comes into your world, which will happen at some point because everyone experiences pain.
Absolutely.
It's obviously going to happen at some point.
Especially an entrepreneur.
Exactly. So to have had that in the past, to have then built us up. So like you're saying, we've got those scars and those war wounds. When we've had, you know, accountants stealing hundreds of thousands of pounds and car crashes that my dad had broke his neck due to stress, you know, passing out, all these things. And it affects the whole family. We've had our own as well. That you've built on that, and it means that we're better people and we can take the punches and still get up and keep going.
Grateful?
The chances of us being here are billions upon billions to one. The chances of us being here and having the upbringing that we've had, being born in this country with a family that we had, a loving family, in a household, you know, we were sort of middle class, upper middle class. We had a great head start in life. And to have that opportunity and to squander it by fucking around and not making our dad proud and our family proud and upholding the name and doing good, not just for ourselves, but for those around us. And like I said, those people that are on the boat and the people that deserve it would be an absolute waste. So to have the ability to be able to give back is something that I will be eternally grateful for. And without the upbringing that we had, who knows where we'd be.
The thing is as well, what we've both always said, because, and we've spoke a lot about our dad, but, you know, our mum is one of those, again, figures like with David Beckham, that she doesn't get spoke about as much as probably our dad, because he's the one at the forefront pushing. But, you know, without her...
We know who the real boss is.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
Exactly. And she's the one that's been the stabilising force throughout the whole family unit. You know, when our dad was going through serious stuff with, you know, people knocking on the door, bailiffs trying to take money. And so she's also, more important.
The women
Make us better.
In our lives, they are more important. They are the hub, the heart.
What else is it for?
I think it's quite an interesting. We don't take it for granted, but we share the same respect, the same values. In that, we don't take mum for granted, but we know mum is the linchpin.
Yeah,
we're the noise.
And so with that, we have always said it that we want to be able to get to a point where they've looked after us our entire life, still do to this day. We want to be able to get them to a point where they don't. Our dad doesn't need to work, so he can be there if he wants, do the things that he wants, live life.
Yeah,
he's still young, and that would be a massive, massive goal and mission for us to eventually get to that point where he doesn't need to be there. My mum can stop complaining at him, going, "You keep going to work. You keep."
That's never going to stop,
No, of course, and he probably wants to go anyway sometimes.
Find something else to stress about.
But that's a real key driver. So and that'll be a proud moment.
Do you feel proud?
Immensely, yeah.
100%, yeah.
Well, look, we're going to do this. We're going to do it again because we're going to get the business side of it. So this one wanted to be more about yous too, stripping you out, getting to nitty gritty of yous too. What makes you tick? What gets you fighting? Where's your drive? That kind of thing. And then obviously we'll do another one where it's about the business. But a couple of fun ones, just quick fire. Who's the better looking?
Well, I got asked to go on Love Island recently, so I'm going to take that one. Not my own arse, but I feel like that's a yardstick to go with. So, although
you got the audience to get that one.
You got asked to
see what the comments say.
You got asked to do the modelling as a kid, so Cody grew up with the looks for the first quarter of our lives. I was a late bloomer. I was a bit of an ugly kid, so puberty.
Well, let's let the viewers can take the pick.
Yeah,
we'll see you.
Each camera. He's getting a good
You got to do your best, Blue Steel.
That's it.
Who was the better sportsman?
Me. Sorry.
I'd agree on certain sports, but I was better at tennis, I would say.
Okay. Who got the most women?
Good question.
I've got a missus, so I've got to say him.
What when you were younger?
No, Cody was a numbers man. Sorry to sort of drop you in it. Yeah. Cody was. I'm a lot more. No. But you played the numbers game. Cody's confidence to go out there and just speak to people is. I bow down. I am in awe. It was brilliant, and for me, I was a lot more reserved. I'm a lot more scared of rejection in that sense, and for me, it's one of those things that I have to have a semblance of connection first of all, whether it's an eye contact or something, but just your ability to just open was legendary.
I was known across Birmingham.
I love it.
No, I wasn't, but
Who's the most likely to moan?
Oh yeah, definitely Tyler.
I think we know this one. Who's the angry one?
Yeah, again.
The episode would prove.
I don't even think we need to answer that one again. The audience will know that one just off this chat.
Who's the fly by the seat of the pants?
Who's the what, sorry?
Fly by the seat of the pants. Just go, do it.
I suppose.
It's me.
It is, but it depends what it is.
Well, go on then, elaborate.
No, I suppose I'll give it him. I was trying to think of one off the top of my head.
Again, we go back to the methodical thinking and the methodical brain, which is definitely not a bad thing. It's just that sort of immediate, I don't know whether it's ADHD or something, but it sees something, go.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of mindset.
Who's the best dressed?
You can judge this one.
Yeah, we'll let the audience again.
Are you, who's the most modest?
Oh.
Yeah, definitely me. Yeah. You didn't say you, did you?
No, you. Yeah, without any doubt.
Who's got the best sense of humour?
Oh, that's a good one. On par, I'd say.
The thing is, we've grown up, our whole lives, funnily enough, and I think between each other as well, we've got a very similar sense of humour. But what we always do is we watch films, and I don't know if it's because when we were younger, we'd remember line by line these films, and then we'd rehearse them, or not rehearse, but we kind of quote them back to each other.
Yeah.
And obviously find it hilarious
all the time.
Between us, or any Will Ferrell film, or like any Step Brother and these things. So we'll probably say something, and then we'll both know exactly where we've just gone with
there's
that
a catalyst, and somebody will say, well, and you
like
immediately
telepathy to
flash
it.
on, and we look at each other, and we'll
it's
just
just like,
know
we know
the exact
where it's
words
come
that
from.
you're thinking.
So we both got a very similar sense of
So
humour.
to be fair then, this is an interesting one. Who's got the best chat lines?
Don't like chat lines.
I mean,
It must
I
be
suppose
you if you've
go. Who's got the best approach?
Oh, that's, look, I said he went up to them. I never said it worked.
this dynamic.
It did work. I'm just saying I said it was a numbers game. It was like, we'll try 10 and one of them should say yes. And that's where we got to. But I mean, I think
You're definitely like, you know, in my earlier life, it's all been refined as well.
until you've met the lovely Kaylin. Shout out Kaylin. It was absolutely lovely. I don't know whether your string of relationships prior to that was anything, anything to shout out about, to be honest.
Hey, listen, we've all got a past, and we'll leave it there. So, the other I was going to ask. I don't know if I want to ask this one because I want to keep it more fun. But who's the best worker?
I suppose you can. It depends.
You're quiet. You wait for him to answer every time.
It's who work. Yeah, it's working. I think we both work equally as hard, but you work better in being more laser focused on probably the things that matter more. So I'm kind of stuck a lot in some of the roles. It's my own fault, and I'm trying to work on that to get myself out of those tasks that I do. But we both work very hard. You know, I'm interested to see what he says. But, you know, in terms of hours, there was a time where you were doing a lot more. I don't know if it's subsided a bit now.
I can latch onto goals quite clearly and use them as motivation. So I can draw motivation from so many different places, whether it's rivalry, competition, my own self-doubt, or my own sort of need to prove or to push or to succeed. So I can find a lot of motivation in so many different areas. And again, coming from a sport background, and certainly in boxing, when you've finally sort of said yes to say that I'm now going to get into the ring with someone and go to war and have that fight, and it's man on man, it's one on one, you've got to go and do everything you can to win. And if you can't draw on that, there's no point in getting in there, because genuinely you'll get outworked, and you have to have the ability to almost find an image, find a goal or something that you can use as energy to then draw on to push forward. So I would say, again, out of the two of us, who's the better worker, I can probably use that fuel better than you can, because I've probably got I've got a higher propensity to be able to utilize fuel in a way that I know drives me forward. And it's usually comes from a place of really high levels of self-criticality, of not being good enough, or not that I'm not good enough, but making sure that I reach my potential, potentially coming from the fact that it was wasted at school.
So who's the most resilient?
I'd say it's probably quite equal, because I'll take like everything, but so will Tyler. You know, anyone can say anything to me. You're a piece of not like going too far, but by your dad, you know, you're not doing that right. You're rubbish. You're this. You're crap. You're la 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 la. And I've had all that, probably more than you have, but I've never just let that defeat me and go, oh, well, just leave it now. And I've always just continued to just go, right, okay, I'll take that and I'll keep going. I'll take it and keep going and keep going and keep going. But we're both very similar. But it's hard to say. But I'd definitely say we're both very resilient in that because we were built up like that as kids, it's then followed through. But because I've not been the most academic, especially like again at school and learning, it takes me, I have to read a book like 3 times before the knowledge is absorbed. And like Tyler, you can read
normal.
it once and it's just, he remembers it all.
Yeah.
So, I have to try probably that bit harder. But I'd still say we're both resilient, probably in different ways, but on a sort of even level, I'd say.
Everyone's now going to be sitting there going, what's he going to say?
For the first
I'm wondering
time,
what he's going to say.
100% you. I think absolutely Cody is one of the most resilient people that I've met, because true resilience is not only sort of facing the adversity and continuing on, getting back on the horse, but it's also doing it through the shit that's being fired at you continuously, even whilst you're on the ground. Whereas I'm a lot more defensive, as we've seen earlier in the episode, and where I'll see red and I will fight back.
Yeah.
Whereas the resilience it takes, certainly as an older brother, to look at their younger brother who is surging forward in certain senses and in others definitely not, but go, I'm going to let him take the reins for now, or on this project, or in this circumstance. And I'm going to take it on the chin, or I'm going to sacrifice on something that I don't necessarily want to sacrifice, if you were to ask me, but then do it and then continue moving forward. That's a true definition of resilience to me that you definitely capture.
That's a fair, very fair answer to that, which perfectly leads on to who's the better leader?
I think there's different elements of it. I suppose we were defining leader and boss earlier.
Yeah. You said something just there, and you might not know what you said. But are you leading in a way that you don't know you're leading?
I recognised from maybe about 8 years ago, because we always had, no, less than that, maybe even 3-4 years ago, people would always ask, like you said at the start, who's the older brother? And I always knew, obviously, by number, and like you said, experience isn't defined by age, it's defined by the life that you've lived and the experiences you've had. So people would always look at both of us and say, you're older, aren't you? And I go, no, I'm the younger one. And they go, really? And our parents, when we would go out, would always say, Ty, look after your brother. Make sure he doesn't cause chaos or do something silly. And so I always thought that realistically, I was sort of like, I played the older brother role. And that meant that potentially being a better leader, that I was leading him. And then what I came to realise is that without his mindset towards being the older brother and allowing me to flourish and be the best version of myself, then I wouldn't be who I am, which, as we said earlier, is the best thing a leader can do, is inspire the team to be the best version of themselves. And so that is something that, as much as I feel like from a broader team environment, I can inspire through, like you said, being the loudest, taking the work on, leading from the front, and inspiring in that way. I think you're far better at leading by making people feel good about themselves, sometimes at your own detriment, as to what you might want or how you would want things to play out. You would take that step back and sacrifice, again, that resilience that allows others to push. So the dynamic does work really, really, really well, and it complements each other nicely.
Have you ever spoke to each other about that before, as brothers?
No, not really. No.
How does it feel now you've heard it?
No, yeah, it's nice. Yeah, of course, it's lovely to hear. And it's, it's... I have always, I suppose, been like that. And
Gone red.
Yeah. But no, it's nice to hear. And I've always wanted the best for him. And I think he's always wanted the best for me. And we want to try and push things together. And I love it more than anything to, when he was doing his boxing match, and it's like, I'm probably, except mum, but I was like loudest, like trying to push, like, yeah, fuck him up tight. And it's like, I want nothing more than for him to succeed. And even going back further, when we were really young, we'd play like games and like, GameCube or whatever it was, or I'd say we'd play, but I'd always like watching him play as a kid and watching him like do well in the game. I don't really know why that's the case, but
You're championing his success.
yeah.
And that's what brothers do. But like Steve and I've always thought he was just jealous of me because he was constantly angry and wanted to have a go. And it was at the moment you go, hey, listen, you're doing pretty good actually. And then the aggression stops and you realise, all he wanted was the recognition that the hard work is actually been appreciated.
Yeah.
I think that's what I really enjoyed about this conversation is it got to know you more both on a personal level. In fact, actually, you've learnt more about yourselves than you probably have realised.
There you go, yeah.
That's been quite interesting to see and witness.
Yeah. No, it's been really interesting.
Summarises the importance of having the conversations. Because a lot of people, and the beauty of podcasting, the beauty of sitting down with like-minded people and having the conversation about these things is, as I said, the emotion of and the gravity and weight of these conversations that are had, which aren't had usually, move the needle so much further and so much faster than the arbitrary crap and the mundane that people get caught up in as being the most important thing in their lives, the day-to-day, the financials, the numbers, the targets, the savings. Whereas actually, understanding why we do things and who we do them for will give you that fuel to push so much further and so much faster. So,
Yeah.
very valuable conversation and really, really important for us to keep on keeping on.
It's one of those pillars that you were saying, wasn't it? The football, communication.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't have won the league without it. Well, I don't know.
We're gonna end on this conversation, this question, because then I want to get you back down for the business chat, and we're going to talk about the brothers in business, and I want to know, how comfortable are you looking at each other as brothers in the eye and giving each other a compliment?
Oh, yeah, me, very, very confident.
That comes as no surprise.
Yeah.
Go on then.
Do you want one?
You can fire away.
No, the way that you've made, especially on me, you've become like a wise brother in the things that you've learned and you push forward, and I learn from you every single day, and how you approach your work and how you approach your family and how you approach, everything like that I always take that on board, and I've learned massive amounts from it whenever we have the little conversations in the car, and it always seems, like it's always, we had one on the way up, but I always do take it on board, and I always try and use it to grow. Might not always seem that way just from the off, but I always do, and I think that because of the relationship we've got, if I rewind just 12 months ago, I've improved tenfold on what I was just 12 months ago because of the relationship we've got and the things I've learned from you.
Thank you very much. I think I recognise that every strength has a weakness, and an equal and opposite weakness has a strength, and I've identified that any of my weaknesses are backed up by your strengths, and that's probably what helps certainly us as a business and certainly us as brothers achieve far more than the average people who are just working for somebody that they don't know or that they don't care about. And it just goes to show that we can still fight, we can still fall out, we can still argue and bicker and point fault at each other, but it's not done through a sense of trying to put the other person down. It's purely done through a sense of bringing each other up. And again, like you said, your strengths are my weaknesses and vice versa, and it wouldn't have it any other way. It works nicely.
There you go.
And that, for me, is the foundation of the future of this business. That should never be forgotten either. The fact that we can actually do this, have the conversation, and actually be honest about each other. Tell each other you're a dick when you're a dick, but you're great when you're great. I think that's important.
Sure. Have you done this with your brother? We need to get him on. turn the tables.
Imagine there'll be chairs flying everywhere.
We'll have to pick teams. It usually be one of
Blue corner and the red corner.
We'll definitely do it again.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I think this has been a great part 1 to get to know you guys. And I think part 2 is going to be super, super exciting when we now learn about the business and what the brothers have done to the legacy that your dad created.
Definitely.
Thanks for the chat.
Thanks for coming out.
Appreciate your time.